you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome into this space. I'm going to continue to invite you to connect to your own energy, your own sphere of being, just as we exist on this planetary body in this atmosphere. We are each planetary body in and of itself, with our own atmosphere, our own energetic design. Able to link fully and completely into the earth herself. And you may even notice that amidst all of what is going on in the external world, when you come into these moments, you are able to tap into the peace and the stillness of what is here, of what is actually within you, within your internal environment. And that actually what we can do is allow this connection into the earth, the planetary body of this realm, to inform us of the possibilities and potentials. This magnificent co-creation with this planet upon which we exist, and without which we would not exist. So part of this time now is about recognizing that the world, the planet, is not in crisis. It is humans who are in crisis. Based on their own internal dynamics, their own internal defenses. And their own inability to see past the surface of what presents. And when you settle and sit, you can feel this. And it's an odd place to be at this time, because looking at what is going on, we almost feel as if we should be experiencing that and feeling that which is being projected to us. And yet it's a strange situation, because many of us are not feeling to go there internally. And there is this confusion when we go to the stores or we read the information. There's a disconnect in some ways. And in some ways it feels like not being able to quite grasp fully the situation that is occurring. And there is that which is ongoing. And yet, more deeply, what is happening is you being tuned to your own internal world, your own internal design. For many of us, this situation actually feels quite comfortable. We are familiar with the feelings and the energies of isolation. This is what we have experienced lifetimes and lifetimes of. And in a more present sense, many people are saying, this is what it means to be an introvert. We know how to do this. We've been doing this our whole lives. And in many ways, it has reduced the internal anxiety for when you don't feel like you are missing out on something, when you don't feel like there is a need or a disconnect between what the world is telling you, in the sense of you feel like you want to stay at home. This is what is comfortable. And yet feeling that society is telling you, well, in order to be a fully functioning human, you need to engage socially. You need to be out doing things, accomplishing things, interacting with people, achieving these states, this status. Something to show who you are to the world. This is all external communication, external referencing, beyond and many times in spite of what is actually here. So what is occurring right now feels very, very comfortable for many people. And it is a reduction in the anxiety, in this, what we would call this trauma or this trigger response with the cortisol pumping through the body. Even though we have these events in the world, that is external, and yet internally many people are feeling this reset, because it takes that stress and that strain of needing to show up, needing to be something other than what they are actually feeling internally. So this is allowing the body, this is allowing the self, this is allowing us to harmonize to ourselves. And for many people, it's been an enormous period of healing, even though they may not be aware of it. Because it has allowed this inner voice, this inner sanctuary to flow up. It now feels safe to exist in a space where there is now an outside message telling you to show up as something else. And when that happens, when the space of safety, which is a lack of judgment now that is being removed in the world in terms of how we live, how we show up as an individual being, the field is being equalized in the sense that it doesn't matter now what you look like, how famous you are, how much money you have, the position you hold. We are all being placed in the same state of, we could call it suppression. This is probably what it feels like to some people. And yet, for those who are used to identifying themselves through their outward external design, this would be a highly uncomfortable time. I am used to socializing. That's where I derive my sense of who I am. I'm used to other people validating me. That's where I derive the sense of who I am. That is what gives me permission to exist in this world. And yet those of us who have been internal already have that. We already understand this connection. We know our internal realm. So in many ways, we are all getting a taste of our own medicine, the medicine that we need to heal. Those of us who are used to being isolated, the pressure has been lifted of having to show up in a different way, day after day after day. We're able to finally This is what I need to focus on. This is what I can take care of. This is what I've been putting off. Given the space and the time to address what truly matters to each of us. Those who are deriving their sense of self from this external engagement with a reality outside of their own internal knowing or their unknowing of themselves, may be struggling a bit more. Feeling restless, feeling bored, feeling confused. For the first time, they're having to sit and face themselves. Routines are being changed up. The input, the output is being shifted. For many people, this can be a time of, especially if we are somewhat inflexible, if we are used to feeling that we are in control of our external environment because of what we do, we're going to be struggling a bit more right now. But those individuals who are used to feeling as if the external world is imposing restrictions on them, in many ways right now, that feeling has been lifted. And so this is where I say this is medicine for the soul that is coming in for everyone, exactly as they need to receive it. When we have lived lifetimes after lifetimes through these types of experiences, memories are starting to surface. So as you are receiving this medicine, the earth is holding and supporting because of the codes that are here and available to you, as a light being, co-creating with this planetary atmosphere, this planetary system, the organic planetary system. It is lifting up all of the energies within where you have been held in isolation, entrapped, feeling as if your full expression was not validated, was not given voice, was not seen as important. I will give one example from a session that I did the other day, which I think is highly beneficial for us all to understand how these energies work in our own fields. This client was expressing her concern over the rage and the anger that she had been feeling for quite a while. And it had culminated in an experience where she really frightened herself. She was afraid of her own anger, the depth to which she felt and expressed this anger. So we explored within her field where this was coming from. And what came up was quite fascinating. Because so often in our society, anger is looked at as a negative expression. And yet what we were being shown was that in some other lifetime, she was put in a position where she was witnessing and watching someone else whose life was being taken from them. And she had a very strong connection to this individual. And yet there was nothing that she could do. And she felt that from a divine feminine perspective, she had failed. Whatever she had done or failed to do had failed this person. And it's then it's almost as if her field shifted. She defaulted then to her divine masculine essence, this movement through her field, this expression of rage and anger at what she was seeing. Now, this isn't to say that rage and anger is a male quality. It's not. We all hold this. I'm talking about the tones within the field, and not to confuse this with being a woman or a man. Divine feminine energy is generally, typically, when we see it energetically, it's a creative expression. It's more passive in that sense. Divine masculine is active. It is that expression out into the world, whereas the feminine energy flows because it is a creation. It simply becomes this outward propelling of this energy that she was feeling, completely valid, completely warranted in this situation that she was put in. Unfair. It's the unfairness of it. And the fact that she was having to witness now someone else being destroyed as a result of whatever the event was. That was not clear. What was more important was that we were focusing on the energy and how she flipped within her own self, and the ramifications of that now that she has carried through all these lifetimes into this present reality, which is that she felt ashamed of her anger. She couldn't understand where it was coming from. And yet it was absolutely valid in that expression of what she was experiencing. So we bring that into this lifetime, and now we're saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this. You need to get that under control. The shame that we lay on top of that. Well, what's wrong with you? What happened to you that you feel this anger and you can't identify it because it's not even coming from this lifetime? It makes no sense. So this is also the medicine that we are receiving now at this time, where we are feeling into the stillness and the healing that is within this planet. And yet also the healing is bringing up all of the distortions that we are still holding in our own field. So we're going to have all of it right now at this time. But to understand the framework in which this is happening, this is medicine for the souls. But always in taking the medicine, we have the reaction in order to purge, in order to release. It's a very strange and interesting time because as humans, we haven't necessarily been expecting this chain of events to occur. And the way it's being presented in the external world is it has nothing to do with healing. It's all about crisis. And yet the fact is we have been in crisis for a very, very long time. And we can choose to see this event, which is ongoing, in any way that we choose. But if you are having the sense of something deeper beneath the surface, this stillness within your own self, and wondering, why do I feel internally calm? I feel like I should be freaking out along with everyone else when I see empty shelves. And are people even really freaking out? I know it would depend on which area you are in and what's going on now, at least in the United States. Things are shifting. And increasing police presence and things like this will automatically trigger people because those are triggers. We have associated energies to images. But to also understand, even with images, words, anything in our reality, we have given a label, we have assigned a meaning and an energy to it. And more than anything, this is what we are starting to recognize and realize. How we have created this reality based on the meanings that have been assigned to everything that we see, everything that we feel, everything that we are experiencing. And so again, I say this is absolutely an experience of the self. We will all be experiencing it in different ways based on what it is that we need for ourselves in our lives at this time to be corrected. So I was saying for myself, I've been feeling like I've been getting very, very behind on my work. And it's not just work, it's personal things that I have not attended to. Making appointments, taking care of paperwork, all these kinds of things. You know, here our the deadline for filing taxes has been extended. Many banks are extending loan payments and things like this. So it's also providing a space and breathing room to attend to these matters. And many beings are finding that up until this point, we've been feeling like we don't know where we're going, we don't know what we're doing, and yet internally it appears that many of us have actually been preparing along the way, pinpointing these things to come up for healing now. It's a very, very potent time to pay attention to your own internal world and what is going on for you, the emotions that are coming up. What is this connected to? And to receive the healing for it. And whether or not there is a crisis going on in our external environment, the healing energy is still here for us to take advantage of at this time. I was driving last night to go to the store, and I really haven't been out a whole lot, but to be out last night, everything's empty, no one's out. An incredibly eerie feeling, but also for myself, a feeling for the first time that I'm free to move about. There's a quietness, a calmness, and a stillness in the energies and in the environment. The crisis is in the systems. The external systems and the internal systems and patterns that we are holding. The crisis is not us as the human. It is the systems we have been born into, the systems that have been imposed upon us through society, through these institutions. And it's all coming up now to be revealed and to be healed. And whether or not humanity and the world shift in some way, it's not quite clear yet. We don't know that for sure, but yet the energy is here to take advantage of. And the more that we are fighting the healing, the more that we are upset that our freedoms are being taken away, we're missing the opportunity to really do the internal work, which is freeing us from the slavery of the mind. And when you start to see the way your mind has created stories around the realities, not just what is happening externally, but internally as well. This is where the real shifts start to occur. So my message today is, yes, so much is happening. Don't miss what's going on in terms of this healing crisis. We call it a healing crisis because it feels like there's a crisis going on sometimes because it's pulling up that distortion. So we say it's very hard to heal or to do the shadow work, as some people may call it, if we are unwilling to accept that something is wrong. Over and over again, we see this. If you're not willing to see your own behaviors and patterns, not to blame or shame ourselves, but as a curiosity to open up, why do I continue to feel this way? Why does this continue to happen to me? And the only reason that it can is because something within you exists. Not that this is your fault necessarily, that it's even inside of you to begin with. And this is really the shift in the healing that needs to be taken at this time as well, to recognize how we feel, how we react. While we do have to take responsibility for that, the responsibility portion of it comes in recognizing that this comes from somewhere. There is a reason for it, and it's not just because you showed up here. There is an underlying reason, an underlying pattern, an underlying energy that is causing this within ourselves. And one of the reasons it's so hard for so many people to show up is because they are ashamed of what they feel, of what they think. If we truly admitted that we don't feel like the image that we portray to the external world, where would that leave us? And the reason we don't do that, though, is because we don't know how to solve this, how to heal. But yet a large portion of actually healing is simply acknowledging that perhaps this comes from somewhere else. Perhaps it was imprinted into me. It doesn't mean I can now say, well, it's not my responsibility to heal. It absolutely is your responsibility to heal because you are in this body. I am in this body. Whatever I am doing and projecting as a result of taking on this human form and this DNA, it is my responsibility. This is what I chose to do, where I chose to be born. It's my responsibility to heal, which means recognizing that there is more at play here than my own expression of distorted patterns. It is the responsibility of being aware that we are operating within a system. It's your job to recognize this is a system or a pattern or a behavior that is running within you. But there is always the cure. There is always the antidote for it. The disease, the dysfunction couldn't exist unless there was the cure. And this is what we often see in the energy world. We talk about reversals, we talk about distortion. And yet, what is that? That's based on organic templates, organic energy. So by default, we know the cure must exist. The cure does exist. But a big part of the trickery, a big part of the cloaking is to use the fear to keep us from looking deeper, to see what the pattern in the system is. That's the big secret. So I hope that you are using this time to listen to yourself internally, to allow these things to flow up. Your shadows, the awareness and the recognition and admitting that is not what will destroy you. What will destroy you, what will destroy humanity, is refusing to acknowledge that which is already internal. It's already here, it's already a problem. This is the opportunity to release that, to bring it up to the light, into the awareness, to receive the healing. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take good care. We will talk soon.